Forgiveness. Yusuf alayhi salam sees his brothers in front of him. He recognizes them. They don't recognize him. I imagine if I was in the position of Yusuf, if my brothers had done something like that, and I was the king of Egypt or I was the minister of Egypt, and I saw them, what would I do? Here's what I would do. I would tell the guards, security, take each one of these men and put them in a well. That's what I would do. I think that's a reasonable solution. But that's not what Yusuf does. Either he should take revenge, which he did not do, or he should forgive, which he did not do. Because in my mind, there's only two solutions. Either you take revenge, or you what? Forgive. But he didn't say, by the way, I'm Yusuf and I forgive you. That's not what he did either. This is the most complicated part of the story of Yusuf. He makes them go back, and then they have to come back with Benjamin. Then he makes them go back, and then they have to come back. Then he makes them go back, and they have to come back. Back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. Why all these round trips? Why so much complication? This could be solved in one conversation. It seems like Yusuf has something in mind, and we have to understand what that is. Here's how I can help you understand it. Do you know that some places, like you were driving somewhere and you went near a building and you were on the phone with someone and they said something that really hurt your feelings? The next time you're driving by that building, what do you remember? That same conversation. There's a vacation you went to, and you went to this place. When you went there, you had the worst fight. The next time you go to that place, you're walking down the same street. What are you thinking about? The same fight. Your memory gets triggered. They call this your memory gets what? Triggered. Yusuf knows that my brothers cannot be forgiven that easily because there's still a wall. You cannot forgive someone really because they don't want forgiveness, because they have a what? Wall. You remember that grandmother I told you about? You know, when he told his grandmother, Grandma, you've been hurting my mom for 15 years. What do you think about that? You know what the grandmother said? Good, she deserves even worse. I was being merciful. You know what that means? That grandma has a really thick what? Wall. And you cannot forgive someone until you get rid of their wall. One side is you can take revenge. The other side is you can forgive. But sometimes before real forgiveness, you have to break a wall. And hopefully, the thing is, when people have a wall, they don't think they did anything wrong. They think what they did was perfectly fine. What's wrong with what I did anyway? I did the right thing. I should have put you in a well. I should have killed you instead. This is their mentality. They're not sorry. If someone's not even sorry, what's the point of forgiving them? It doesn't make any sense. But Yusuf does not want revenge. Yusuf wants to fix this, and he knows he doesn't need to break his brothers, he just needs to break their what? Wall. And he's going to break it by triggering their memory. Maybe if they relive what they did to me, they will feel that maybe it was wrong the first time I did it. So what does he say to them? You have another brother, don't you? He's Benjamin. He's another son of Rachel, isn't he? Go to your dad and ask him for the son of Rachel to go with you. This will be the first time they're asking for a son of Rachel, or the second time? The second time. The first time they asked for who? Yusuf. So they're going to go back and they're going to say, Dad, can we have Benjamin? And Dad's going to say, I should trust you like I trusted you with Yusuf. And they are reliving the Yusuf episode, aren't they? Then he brings you Benjamin. Now he kept Benjamin with him. He kept Benjamin with him. Now you have to go back to your dad and tell him, sorry, we lost your son. Wait, is this the first time they're going to their dad and saying, sorry, we lost your son? Or the second time? He's trying to trigger their memory. He's trying to trigger their memory. By the way, at the very end, he's going to make them go back with a shirt. Right? He's going to say, here's my shirt, take it to my father. Go give this to my father. Right? Why is he giving them a shirt? He could just say, bring my father. He needs them to remember the first time they took a shirt. He's triggering their memory. You understand? And when you trigger someone's memory, maybe this time they realize what a terrible thing they had done. When people live inside comparison, they don't even realize what they're doing. But maybe something makes them realize, oh my God, how could I have done that? I became a completely different person. I don't even recognize myself. How in the world did I become this evil that I did this, this, and this? You understand? He's hoping to break their wall. So the first step was, go back and get me Benjamin. When they go back and get him Benjamin, by the way, each of these trips back in the day, is travel cheap or expensive? It's expensive. And this is a time of economic disaster. So every time they travel, they are running out of food and money. They're getting poorer every time. Now they come back. And then he holds on to Benjamin. Then they have to go back again. Are they getting richer or poorer? They're getting poorer. And now they have to, and by the way, the second time when they had to go back without Benjamin, the older brother said, you guys go, I can't go. I cannot face my dad. I have put him through enough. His memory got triggered enough that his wall actually what? Broke. One of them is ready. The rest of them aren't ready yet. You guys go get dad. Convince dad. Tell him what happened. Now they come back the third time. And when they come back, they are completely out of money. The Quran describes their possessions as bida'atin muzjat. They have nothing left, like broken chair or like some rocks and some leaves or some pathetic things that they know it's worthless stuff, but they brought it anyway. Please just give us food because we have nothing left, and please be generous to us. Give us some sadaqah. Please let our brother out of jail too, because our dad's very old. Right? So they're begging. They're begging. And now Yusuf sees these men. The last time he saw them, they were the powerful ones. They were the ones beating him up, kicking him into a well. And now they're the ones that are starving. They're the ones that are weak. They're the ones that are broken. And he's in a position of power. Now their wall is completely broken. And at this point, instead of humiliating them, what did he do? He stands next to his brother and says, هل علمتم ما فعلتم بيوسف وأخيه إذ أنتم جاهلون? Do you know what you did to Yusuf and his brothers when you had done wrong? You know that young man that had to go to Hajj I told you? I'll tell you another story before I come back to Yusuf. There was a woman that I knew. She was abused terribly, terribly by her father and her mother. They beat her like animals until she was 16 years old. And when she became 16 years old, some older man, he was 30 years older than her, he proposed to marry a 16-year-old girl, and they married her off. And she happily married him because anything to get away from who? Parents. So she got married to this much older man. She started her life, had kids. Her husband died. She raised her kids. She's successful in her business. Life moves on. Her parents became old. The father that used to beat her is old man now, and he has heart disease. The mother has diabetes, the one who used to humiliate her. And now they have no one to take care of them. Who takes care of them? What do you think? That same daughter. The same daughter they used to abuse. And she says, I put food in my dad's mouth, but I hate him on the inside. I take care of my mother, but I hate her for what they did. They never once even acknowledged what they did. I cannot forgive them. How do I even forgive them? Well, because maybe you haven't broken their wall yet. You haven't broken their wall yet. You know what breaking the wall means? You have to confront someone. do you remember what you used to do to me? Do you remember what you put me through? But you cannot confront someone if their wall is strong. You can only confront someone when their wall has become weak. The brothers became weak, right? Then Yusuf said, you remember what you used to do to Yusuf? Do you remember what you used to do to his brother? When you had all those feelings that you had, إِذْ أَنْتُمْ جَاهِلُونَ? Do you remember that? And they're like, how does he know Yusuf? How does he know that name? So I'm going to pretend to be one of them. Well, bro. And the other guy's like, I told you we should have killed him. Innaka the anta Yusuf? You're Yusuf? And he says, Ana Yusuf. I am Yusuf. That I am Yusuf. It makes the hair on my skin get up. It's heavy. Because you know what that is? That's confrontation. That's making the abuser confront the victim and say, look at me and remember what you did to me. I'm Yusuf. Face me. Face what you did. You know, facing what you did is a difficult thing. Somebody can be really abusive, like her father, the lady that I told you, her father and mother used to be really bad to her. She tried to confront them one time. Do you remember what you used to do to me when I was little? And you know what the father said? I think I made some mistakes. That's cute. Some mistakes? You used to beat me till I bled. You're going to call it some mistakes? You know what that means? He's not ready to confront it yet, because he's trying to cover the ugliness with words that are not so ugly. You understand that? Or he says, I slipped up. I slipped up sounds really cute, but you haven't confronted it. I beat you. I tortured you. I humiliated you. I was an animal. I was a shaitan. You know what? That sounds like you've really come to terms with what you did. Otherwise, when you're still trying to sugarcoat your mistake with words, then you haven't really come to terms with what you did. And you don't have to broadcast your mistake. You don't have to Facebook Live what you did, but you do have to talk to the person that you abused. You have to do that. And Yusuf confronts them directly and says, Ana Yusuf, wa hadha akhi, qad manna Allahu alayna. This is Yusuf, I'm Yusuf, this is my brother. In other words, the one you've been abusing, he's with me now. What are you going to do now? And finally, their walls are what? Broken. But you know, that's not enough. The story gets even more powerful on the subject of forgiveness. All the brothers were in Egypt. Understand this part. All the brothers were where? Egypt. But the father is where? Back in Canaan. He's back in his home. Okay? Is he home alone? No. He's living with his daughter-in-laws, all those brothers, their wives, and his grandchildren. So Yaqub is now a father-in-law and also a grandpa. All the sons are gone, but he's living with the larger family. When they were coming back with the shirt, he could smell it. You remember that? And he said something. He said, I can feel the scent of Yusuf. And if you people didn't think that I'm crazy, you could smell it too. But when he said, if you people didn't think I'm crazy, who was he talking to? He wasn't talking to his sons, because his sons aren't even there. Who's he talking to? He's talking to his daughter-in-laws, and he's talking to his grandchildren. You know what we're learning? The sons developed a hatred for their father, and they used to consider their father insane. And they taught that kind of hatred to their wives. And those husbands and wives also taught it to their children. Remember where this mama drama started with Leah? And she taught something to her kids? And now her kids have taught it to their families. Can you imagine they live in a family where Yaqub is a prophet, And they're all Muslim, but they consider him insane anyway. Do you see how serious these dark feelings can be? How serious comparison can be? That this man is being humiliated even by his grandchildren. Now here's the part that you might not know. This is what the Bible will tell us, and our Mufassirun seem to agree with this part. How many wives did he have? Do you remember? Yaqub, how many wives did he have? Leah and? Who's Yusuf's mom? Rachel. Rachel died. It's been several years, Rachel has died. And you know what? Who's still alive? Leah. The shirt comes back. The royal guard comes back. The Egyptian convoy comes with their VIP, stretch limos. And they come to receive Jacob, Yaqub, and the family. You're all being invited to Egypt. And they're being taken in these luxurious rides back to Egypt. And Jacob is going back with the royal guard. And who's next to him? Jacob's wife. Jacob's wife, which one? Leah. And what's she thinking on the ride back? What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do to me? I'm the one who started all of this. He's the king now? He's the minister now? And he broke my son's wall. I don't know what he did to my sons, but what in the world is he gonna do to me? And they get all the way back to Egypt. And what does he do? The Quran tells us something the Bible doesn't tell us. وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. He took both of his parents and put them on the throne. He took his dad and put him on the throne, and he took Leah as if she's his own mom and put her on the throne. Wow. That's a Yusuf move. It's called a boss move. You know what that is? Some people, you have to break their wall by confronting them. Other people, you have to break their wall with love and respect that they never expected from you, because you only gave them poison. So they never expected it from you. I had a friend who used to be very skinny in high school, and he used to get beat up a lot. And this one guy in school used to beat him up a lot, just for fun. Many years later, the skinny guy is pretty well off. He's driving one day and he sees a homeless guy on the street begging for food. And he looks carefully, guess who it is? The big guy that used to beat him up. He puts him in the car, he takes him to a restaurant, he gives him food. How are you? How have you been? Do you need a job? Helps him out. And it took him a couple of weeks. And the homeless guy recognized, oh my God, you're the guy from high school. I used to beat you up all the time. And he cries and he apologizes and he says, I had so much anger in me and I used to let it out on you and you didn't deserve that. And the guy never confronted him. But he broke his wall by what? By rahmah. You understand? You have to recognize in your life which walls need to be broken by confrontation and which walls need to be broken by rahmah. And maybe you'll get it wrong. Maybe you try to break somebody's wall by rahmah and you're like, yeah, that's not working. I think this one needs to be broken a different way. We were going to need to go Yusuf's brother road on this one. And then for others, you might have to take the road that he took with Leah. Just put her up on the throne. And what a message he sent to his brothers. You hated me for my mother, but I will not take revenge and hate your mother. I will honor your mother as she's my own. Which is me saying, I treat you like my brothers as you're my own. You never treated me like your own, but I will treat you like my own. This is the final break of the wall. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm looking to fix this family. Okay, fine. All the walls are broken. La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. No harm shall come on you today. Everybody's forgiven. Happily ever after. One problem left. Yaqub. He's also hurt. They abused him too. They called him crazy. They taught their wives to call him crazy. They taught their kids to call him crazy. And he's been hearing their abuses for all these years. He needs to feel some reconciliation. So they come to him and they say, Astaghfir lana. Ya abat astaghfir lana. Our dad, we love you. Remember that? Dad, we love you. Can you pray for our forgiveness? Could you pray for our forgiveness? And their dad said something epic. He said, Sawfa astaghfiru lakum rabbi. I will soon, not now. He didn't say right now. He said soon. Why? He's too hurt right now. You don't have to forgive someone right away, even if their wall is broken. There is no rule and law in Islam that you must forgive. You will forgive when your heart is ready to forgive. It's good that their wall is broken, but that doesn't mean that they are entitled to your forgiveness. There's no such thing as if you don't forgive, Allah will not forgive you. There is no such thing. There is motivation that Allah can guarantee you forgiveness if you can find in your heart to forgive. That can happen, but that doesn't mean you're obligated to forgive. This is not Christianity. This is not turn the other cheek. It's not. In fact, وَلَمَنْ انْتَصَرَ بَعْدَ ظُلْمِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَا كَانَ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سَبِيلٍ. Whoever was done wrong, if they help themselves, then you cannot make a case against them. I'm reminded of the famous story of Wahshi. Wahshi was the spear thrower who killed the uncle of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hamza. He killed him. And when Islam took over, Wahshi was still alive. So everybody was coming to the Prophet to hold his hand and accept Islam. He got in line too, but he covered his face because if they saw his face, they would have killed him. So he gets in line, and shows up in front of the Prophet, takes his hood off, and it's Wahshi. And the Prophet, he thought the Prophet might not recognize him. The Prophet holds his hand and says, "Aren't you Wahshi?" And he says, "Yes." So now, Umar is there. You know what Umar's going to do, right? Umar is going to do the Umar thing. So he's going to Umar the guy. But then he says to Wahshi, "Tell me how you killed him. Tell me how you did it." Wow. You know what he's doing? Confronting. He's ready to accept Islam, which means all his sins are what? Forgiven. But no, wait. We need a confrontation first. How did you kill him? And he tells him. He takes the shahada. But rahmatul lil alameen, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, told him, Allah has forgiven what happened, but I don't want to see you again. It hurts me too much, basically. So Wahshi moved somewhere far away. The Prophet didn't want to see him again, even though he's forgiven. In other words, even if you forgive someone, doesn't mean you have to become their best friend. It doesn't mean you have to hang out together now. You're still traumatized quite a bit. You understand? The Quran is amazingly realistic when it talks about forgiveness. We're not. We say stupid things like, why can't you forgive? Just forgive, just forgive, just forgive. When somebody does that to you next time, say, just read Surah Yusuf and get out of my face. Just read Surah Yusuf. Just read Surah. But Yusuf alayhi salam forgave? Yeah, how did he forgive? Get out of here. Go to a story night, okay? I think you need a story night or something. A lot of times we say things on behalf of Islam that are against what the Quran is saying. And this is what I call you're more Islamic than Islam. Don't be more Islamic than Islam. Islam's perfect already. Let Allah speak. Allah is giving us a very realistic, very empathetic narrative of forgiveness.